Okay. So hello everybody, I'm going to be going over the game setup, pre-game meeting and the pre-shift meeting that you guys should do and captain's meeting. So first thing that goes with that, the best thing you guys can do right when you get here 15 minutes early, go ahead, meet your partner, know who you're working with for that night, learn their names, talk about how you guys want to be officiating, see what styles match up better, make sure everybody's comfortable with the rules. Figure out who wants to be up ref first, who wants to be down ref, and then after you figured all that out, you're going to talk to your supervisor. They may have information for you. And then following that, you guys are going to do your captain's meeting when it gets closer to game start time. With that, you're going to want to make sure for the first couple of nights that you go over all the rules with them. So you're going to want to make sure that everybody knows where the out of bounds lines are. You're going to need to make sure they know what a net violation is. Make sure they know they can't step over that blue line. Make sure that they know the rules so there isn't any confusion. With co-rec, you're going to want to make sure that they know how many players can be on at a time, how many men they need, how many women's. Just make sure you're ready to go and that you've got your setup good. For setting up the net, it's going to require both of you. If we're just doing one court that night, you guys are going to be responsible for this. It will not be set up. Occasionally, it might get set up if the op soup is here, but most of the time, just come in expecting to set this net up right away. For setting up the net, it's going to take both of you guys. So I'm going to have Caroline come over and help me with that. We'll talk more about the captain's meeting in just a second. We'll go over some rules that you need to make sure they know. But the first thing you guys will do when you get here is set up this net. So all of this stuff is going to be located in that closet if it's not already pulled out for you guys. You're going to need to make sure you have this up ref stand, these two poles. Most of it's already going to be on here. You're going to need to pull out this net depending on who put it away the night before. It may already be fairly good, or it may be tangled up how it is right now. So you're just going to grab one side on each, watch the cables and make sure they're not tangled up. Pull it completely across the field or the court. Try to untwist it. Words always up. And the way to know which side is which is this little hook right here is going to hook on the back of this pole. And she's going to have a different part that has a little knot that's going to be attached to the silver end right there, which is what's going to be used to crank it up to make sure it gets nice and tight. So these are the little hooks. You're going to want to put it back here, string it over the top and put it right on top. And then you're also going to want to pull this all the way up. You guys can go either over there or over here so you guys can see yourselves. If you're playing a women's game, there's a silver W right here at the top. And you're going to want to put this directly through that bottom hole right before the women's. So just like this. I can't see where the other side. Okay, and then she's going to do the same thing for men's. There is a M, so that's obviously going to be a little bit higher. And for co-rec, you're also going to use the men's as well. And then she is going to attach her piece real quick. Yeah, it depends on how you guys want to do it. I put this on first because I'm not tall, so when I put the thing up, it's not going to go anywhere. And then she's going to attach it on the back. We'll walk over real quick to see that little knot right there. Okay, so there is like a little hook right in here that she's going to attach that string to.
You can come on this way.
And then she's going to need to find the crank. We may have one in that right there, or you may have to go up to the front desk and ask them for a crank. But she's going to crank it all the way until it gets really tight and until she can't crank any longer.
And make sure that your pole doesn't look like this when you're trying to crank, because it's not going to go anywhere. So make sure that the pulley system at the top is lined up straight with the center line on the floor.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is the longest.
I know. While she does that, does anybody know what you guys should be looking out for as players are arriving? So, like, what can't they have and what should they have? Jewelry, that's right. So while you guys are doing this, while they're practicing, go ahead and talk to them. If you see somebody with a watch on, tell them to take it off beforehand. If you see somebody with earrings in, go ahead and get that fixed. Then also shoes are a big thing. We have to have closed-toed shoes that resemble some sort of tennis shoe. So no flip-flops. If somebody comes in flip-flops, go ahead and tell them straight off the bat that they need to change their shoes.
Or things that aren't athletic. So
yeah, so my Toms, they wouldn't qualify either. So then for this part, you're gonna go ahead and you're just going to tie one side. It doesn't matter how tight for that first side. The second side is where you guys are going to be actually doing the tightening. So go ahead, grab these strings, pull it over, tie it in a knot, make sure that it's good and that it's not going to come loose during the game. You want to make sure that the net is good and tight so that if anybody does happen to go up and hit the net really hard, that it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to come flying off. It's not going to hit anybody. It's not going to come loose because you want to make sure that the game or the net, you're not going to have to like refix it during all the other games. So then over on her side is a little bit different. We're going to need to grab this, wrap it around a couple of times if it's too long, like right here, it is a little bit long. And then just clip it right here. And then for her side, Caroline, are you good? She's gonna go ahead and pull it. You guys can come over and watch how she does that.
So I tighten. I've got a little trick to make it easier. I'll go around until it's pretty tight. I'll loop it through and then use my body to pull it around. So now it's tighter than I could have gotten it just by like yanking on this metal part. But to move this metal part, to adjust it, you pull out this part that looks like a bell, maybe, and then I can move it up and down. To tighten it, I pull it away from me because this will be hooked on, and pulling it away will tighten it. So now I adjust it and pull it closer to me. I do my little loop, or you can just tighten it the other way, and then pull it towards me. Volunteers to do the rest of it. So this side, since it's already tied on the other one, you can pull as hard as you possibly can. Not as hard as you possibly can. Do you want me to go around the outside of this? Yes.
And then one thing we didn't mention is you want to make sure that these white, this white part right here is always going to be past this little white line, because we're also going to need to connect another piece right there to show out of bounds. Is what Andy's holding in his hand right now. It is going to go on top right where this white line is once they finish tightening it. But if this is like all the way over there, your net's not going to be even, so you're not going to be able to have the area you need in order to put these on.
So for people who aren't like 6'5" and above, who can't reach this top part, but you need to also still pull it tight, I'll pull it down and then tighten it before it gets loose. That didn't really make sense. But do you see what I'm doing? So now this is tighter than I would be able to get it just by trying to use my triceps because I'm weak. But like you literally can pull it as hard as you can because that makes a better playing experience. So who's up?
Let me do it.
Yeah, you gotta be hard. And you can knot these because they're not hard to undo. They're not hard to undo. Yeah. And pull, you don't have to do it for that one, you're tall enough. Just for the top one, you might have to do that. Oh, see, now you got it loose again. Start with your hands closer to your knot. Yes! Yeah, keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight.
I don't know how to tie shoes either.
You got it. Oh no. Yeah, no, it's not. I don't think
It's a knot.
Is it a knot?
It's a knot.
Yeah! Who's got the bottom one?
I'll do it.
Yeah. And a super good way of knowing that your net is great is that this pole is straight. So if you've got it and it looks like this and your whole net has like diamonds instead of squares, bring it full circle back to the straightness. Yeah, see how much, yeah, just lean on it a little bit and it'll pull a lot tighter. No, she said your knot wasn't good enough. Yes. Okay, wow, this is hard.
It is gonna take some getting used to.
Yeah.
But that's also why you guys have somebody else to help set up. So if you need help, you have other people to do. There we go. And then our final 2 steps is putting up the little red pole. Oh, she's fixing that knot to make sure it is good.
I can do it with an antenna braced against my face. Come on, kids.
Okay, so for our final 2 steps, we're gonna go ahead and put these 2 things on. So this is our padding. You're going to want to make sure this is on so that nobody runs into the pole while playing, because it does happen. And you want to make sure that everybody is going to be safe and that this metal pole is padded. And then this is Velcro, so it's pretty easy. Just gonna sit there.
The 4 Velcros go away from the court. So the more Velcros away. So the cool thing about antennas are that they are extensions of the sidelines to infinity. So if the ball were to cross any part outside of this, it is out. You guys should all probably, hopefully know that. So that means if I were to put the antenna on the inside of the line is still in, so I'm losing an inch of playable space on the outside. So I always want to put the antenna on the outside portion of the sideline to infinity upwards. So I hook it on there just so that it's not going to go anywhere. I don't have to like worry about holding it up while I'm trying to tighten it. And everybody come close, because this is finite details. If you don't put it on right, it will fall off every single time somebody hits the net, and that's the worst. Oh, I hook first. That distracts me. Okay, Andy. Whatever Andy says. So I like to hold it so that it doesn't pop off. I hold it down and I spin to the left. And that tightens it up. So now that top part isn't going anywhere. The bottom part, you tighten and loosen just by doing that. Super easy. And you want to hook it on there. So there's a small plastic piece that the net is going to fit in between. So people on this side, that's what it looks like. People on that side, it goes in right there. So I put it on, and then I tighten it onto the net. So now that bottom piece isn't going anywhere either. So now if I hit the net as hard as I possibly can, which you'll see a lot of guys do, my antenna's not going anywhere.
Sounds good. All right, so yeah, once that's done, you guys should already know each other's names. You guys should already be comfortable with each other. You probably have already been talking to each other about what you're doing during the setup, what your game plan is. And then, like I said, as players are coming in, you're checking for jewelry, you're checking for what type of shoes they're wearing, you're making sure everybody is within our guidelines, that there's nothing wrong. And then back to that captain's meeting. So like I was saying, first couple of weeks, you're definitely going to want to make sure that the captains know all the game rules. Tell them to tell their team what those game rules are as well, just because you're always going to hear people have no idea what the rules are. Some people have never played volleyball in their life because they don't have to come out here and play. So just make sure they're aware. We're not going to have a lot of rules that they're going to need to know, but what we do have, make sure they're comfortable with. And then anything that you guys want them to know. Do we have Greek night for volleyball? So for Greek night, make sure that you're aware of what teams we have playing. If you see people arguing in the beginning, then you're going to want to make sure to watch out for that, and just kind of be aware of your surroundings. For captain's meetings, during the games, you can call a captain's meeting again if you see problems. So like I was saying, with Greek night, there normally are rowdiest nights. If something happens, pull the captains aside again, just let them know that you guys have seen some arguing, things are getting competitive, and just let them know what they need to do differently. Do you guys have anything to add? Oh yeah, our stand setup. That would be nice. So we aren't done with our net.
A little thing with like the grease stuff and everything, they're gonna have a lot of people in their boxes. So you are allowed to tell them to quiet down. If they're yelling at each other and there's gonna be a lot of cussing and whatnot, and there's gonna be a lot of personal things, you know, they're gonna be like calling out names and whatnot, you need to cut that early. You need to say it early, like within the first few points, get it done with, and yeah, so.
So you roll these via the wheels. They got little wheels on them. You lower them enough so that you can use the wheels instead of having to carry it. Oh yeah. I did that wrong.
Yes, yes.
This away. Yeah. So it's not that hard. I'm just weak. So these little pegs need to go in the front. This is your ladder to step up. So you want your wheels and your ladder away from the court. Then you lift this up, tuck it in, and wait for it to click. Don't get up before it clicks. And hook it in. Now I can go up and not worry about dying.